Welcome back to Being and Becoming podcast. My name is Logan Hauer. I'm joined today by a good friend, Jordan Eiras. And Jordan has been working at Denton Bible Church for the past couple of years, and where he's a church life coordinator. And Jordan and I go way back to high school. We've been friends for a long time, so obviously we got a lot to catch up on and talk about, but a lot of kind of what we've been talking about before the call has been in the realm of writing and reading, and so I figured we'd just kind of start off there, even though I mean there's so many things we can talk about, and we'll get into later about Jordan's been on the is it Appalachian Trail, right?
You can say it Appalachian. I like Appalachian. I think it sounds cooler, but
Appalachian. I like that better too. Yeah. But
I feel like
anyhow,
there's like a debate about it. What's the right way? But you know,
and that'll be a debate that'll continue throughout the podcast. But Jordan, it's great to have you on. Thanks for being here.
great to be here in Texas, not with you, but
I'm up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, so we're both a long way from Cincinnati, where we kind of
it is a
spend
long
a lot
way.
of time.
You're a lot closer though, I think.
Yeah.
It takes 16 hours to get up there.
Oh, jeez. So what brought you down to Texas originally? Was it for school or the job?
A little bit of both. I was a youth pastor in Ohio and just wanted to keep pursuing ministry. And then a really good opportunity showed up at Denton Bible Church where I'm at. And the church is just really good with discipleship and equipping their staff and the people of the church just for ministry. So our pastor, Tom Nelson, he does a program called Young Guns where he takes guys and disciples them for like 9 months. And it's a really good program. And so I came down, did that. And then the church helps staff go through seminary. So I'm in seminary right now. And actually Young Guns, I'm getting like seminary credit for it from Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. I just got this mug in the mail.
From me, right? I think I had a hand in that mug, right?
Oh yeah, I had to refer a friend, and you're the friend. I emailed them a few days ago because it had been a while, and I was like, maybe the friend actually had to like do something, go to this campus or something. And I was like, I thought it was a cool mug. I really wanted it. And so I've been like looking at my gate every day. Where's my mug? Where's my mug? Finally, right before this call, got dropped off.
Yep, mug appears. Hey, you knew I was destined to be. We're having a call. The mug shows up.
That's right.
Yeah, all is well with the world.
Oh, you're going to be on Being and Becoming? Here's your mug. There you go.
We actually sent that special. It's our gift to you for being on the show today.
Thank you. That's great.
But so you moved down to Texas and you did this Young Guns, you said?
3 years ago. Yep.
Young Guns?
Yeah, so you go through it's 3 mornings at 6 a.m. a week and then 1 evening, and you'll go through church history, systematic theology, and then the pastor of our church would just take us through. We went through Genesis, Matthew, Romans, Revelation, and he just took us verse by verse through all those books. It was incredible. Loved it.
And were you having to work in addition to that, or was that part of your
Yeah. When I moved down, I got hired by the church to be on staff as the church life coordinator. And so with that, like I work with newcomers to the church and volunteers of the church and church membership and things like that. So
very cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And you like Texas too? So Pat actually is one of the hosts on the show with us, and he talks so much trash about Texas on when we have recordings. It's kind of been a running joke, but you're liking it, right?
What about Texas? Has he been here and he had about it?
He lives there. He lives in Tyler.
Oh.
Tyler, Texas, which is
this is Patrick
Dyer
from high school. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm near Tyler. I don't know. Texas is a big state. He could be like 30 hours from me.
That's true. I think he's close to Dallas, Fort Worth.
Okay, so he talks a lot of trash. He lives here and he talks a lot of trash about it.
Yes.
I'll say this. It was really funny when we moved down here. Right when you get to Texas, it says drive friendly the Texas way. And the driving here was crazier than any place I've ever been. So, and they were not friendly. They are just, angry. Because I mean, I was living in a really small town in Ohio, and I drove like a grandpa. I drove slow. I drove the speed limit. I hear you're supposed to do that. I would stop at red lights, things like that. And just Texas, it was all out the window. I'm used to it now, or people have gotten better. I'm not sure which, but I haven't had any accidents or anything, so that's good.
That is good. Yeah, he has
I was so he can talk bad about Texas. I was just in Paladuro Canyon camping this last week, and it was amazing. So beautiful, loved it. It snowed, which was cold, but it was a good time.
So does it snow regularly in your area of Texas, or no? It's just the mountains.
Well, it wasn't really a mountain. It's more of like it's flat out in West Texas, and then it's a canyon. So you feel like you're in the mountains, but it's just a canyon. It doesn't snow here a whole lot. It's been really nice weather, like 70s here, but I feel like we'll get like a light snow each year, and maybe a couple freezes, stuff like that.
We've been lucky this last week or two. It's been about 70. It was 70 today, but it's looking like it's gonna warm up a bit, but we'll get snow still this month and maybe even next month. And it's the Midwest way.
Yeah.
But so you're saying, you're going camping. It seems like you're doing a lot of fun stuff in Texas. And have you been on any adventures lately? I know obviously the trail was a number of years ago now. Gosh, is that almost 10 years ago you were on hiking the Appalachian?
It was 2017, so in a few years, yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
Got a few years before 10, but yeah, it was a while ago. I don't get to do a whole lot these days because my wife and we just had our first son, 4 months now.
Oh, congrats, man. That's
Little
awesome.
Ezra. Yeah, did you know I had a son?
I did not know. You're
Okay,
not on
yeah,
social
so
media, I don't think, right?
dude, I know. Dude, that's the life. It's good not being on social media, but nobody knows anything about me. Yeah, so Ezra's 4 months, and so we've been pretty busy with that. But we have a backpacking backpack that Ezra can go in, and we haven't used it yet with him. I feel like I don't know if he's quite ready for it, but once he's ready for that, man, we're going some places. We have Texas State Park passes. There's a lot of really good state parks here, so we'll go to those.
That's awesome.
And we love it. Yeah. Hike, camp.
Yeah, that's good that you can still get out and be adventurous even with a young kid and whatnot. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we went to there's a really cool it's Wichita National Wildlife Refuge in Oklahoma, and we took Ezra there for his first like hiking trip, and that was beautiful. It was really good, like 2.5 hours away.
Oh, that's not bad. You
Yeah.
think of Oklahoma and Texas as being very far apart, but
No, I'm like an hour from Oklahoma where I'm at because I'm
oh,
North Texas, right under Oklahoma.
so you're northwest then? Is that?
No, more northeast, but Texas.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I mean, to get out the border east, I'd still have to drive a few hours, but I'm just
Okay.
north of Dallas.
Okay.
If you want to look up
Yeah,
on
I
a map.
think Patrick, gosh, I wish I would have asked him. I think he's on the western side, I
Really?
believe.
I mean, I
So
feel like I'm close to a Tyler.
there could be multiple cities. I don't know.
Now I've got to know.
I know. Fact check in real time. That's
Yeah.
the dedication we show here on the podcast.
I would say that as the host of the show, you should have looked all this stuff up.
Yeah, it was in my it was
Yeah,
highlighted in
so
my notes.
Tyler is not too far. I guess it's southeast of me a little bit.
Is it really? Southeast?
Yeah. Yeah,
Gosh,
but I
I'm
mean,
so
I feel
bad
like,
with the Texas geography here.
yeah, I would agree with that. You need to brush up. But how about you brush up by coming and visiting some of your friends in Texas?
We were Austin and I have we've kicked around the idea of visiting Patrick, and how about, was it 2 hours he said he was south of you?
Oh, I didn't look up how far. I would guess an hour and a half.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah,
Maybe
we could
2 hours.
totally meet up and do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could. You'll have to do it. Find a cheap flight.
Yeah. Allegiant Airlines, hook us up if you're listening.
Hey, our church is pretty big and we have a lot of pilots here, so maybe they can
Do you really?
hook you up.
Is it because
Yeah.
of the wasn't Southwest like founded in Dallas or one of those big airlines?
I live here. I don't know. Don't ask these questions. Yeah, that sounds right. I think we have some Southwest pilots here, so that would make sense.
Yeah. I mean for how big the state is too, it's like I feel like they have a couple airports. But anyhow, I'm digressing now at this point. Enough
Yeah.
about Texas.
Okay.
So I want to get into some more about your personal life and interests here. So we've
Yeah.
established you're in seminary, and how is some of that like reading and writing and all the stuff that comes with seminary? How's that? How are your studies going?
They're going good. I'm taking it real slow. I just do one class at a time. It's online and they're 8-week classes.
Is it
Uh
3 credit hours or something?
yeah.
Okay.
So last year I took 2 Greek classes. That was really cool and fascinating. I love those. Rob Plummer was my professor and he's incredible. He does this thing you can sign up for free, Daily Dose of Greek, and just get like he'll go through one verse in a couple minutes and just kind of dissect it and explain it, translate it. And but yeah, I feel like he's kind of become famous from that. But he was my professor, made it so simple and
Yeah.
it's good. But yeah, now I'm in a class where we're learning about it's a systematic theology class, and we're going through uh the Holy Spirit, salvation, the church, and last things. But
Wow.
it's really good. Yeah, just reading about this stuff.
See, Revelation's been one of those books that's of the Bible that's never I felt like put the effort in to kind of, follow along with. Has it been difficult for you so far? Or is some of it kind of makes sense?
Well, actually, it's been so we've covered the Holy Spirit and then we just finished salvation. And it definitely like I mean, people dive so deep into these topics and so yeah, it'll hurt your head a little bit. And then it's kind of difficult because there's so many people who they'll fall on different sides of things um that I just wasn't really expecting. Like I guess for instance, here, I've got my textbooks right here. I'll show you what they are.
Yeah, see how heavy they are.
So these are two of them. Wayne Grudem's Systematic Theology.
Wow.
And then the other one is my professor wrote this one, and they're both really good, but I love this one. It's historical theology. So he'll take a topic and then show what like from the early church till today, how that topic kind of progressed and what happened that changed how the church saw, that topic and things like that. So this has been really fascinating. I love that. But both those are really good. One of the things it's like in talking about salvation, according to Wayne Grudem, that we are regenerated before we have saving faith, and regeneration is kind of the same as being born again. So essentially, like he's saying that God, we're spiritually dead, and God gives you life before you have faith in Him, and it just, I mean, trying to figure out,
You
which
know what?
for me, that sounds like you're saying that an you can have a born again unbeliever, which for me that I don't, if that's what he's saying, I don't think I agree with that. But that's the stuff where it's like we're really kind of splitting some hairs in scripture, and it's been really fascinating, and I'm trying to figure out, what I think about the matters.
That's really interesting because I had talked with a friend about that, kind of this along those lines of he went to seminary, and then I had phrased the question to him, and I think what was a wrong way based on his perspective, but he was saying that he basically going through seminary, he found out that he had never believed in God, and that it was more so like what he was a baptized unbeliever almost
Yeah.
kind of thing. And then but he doesn't view it as a choice. He just he views it as more of like he never was or isn't, or I don't, he would do a better job of explaining it to me obviously,
Yeah.
but because it's a very nuanced point or topic or whatnot, but I had never thought about it that way. And it's really interesting that someone's written a book that discusses that very thing.
Yeah. It's been fascinating. It's been good. But
That's sweet. And so you're doing all this heavy reading here. How we got to see a little snippet of how big those books were. How many pages are in those?
and like I don't know how much, like I'm not reading all of these, but these aren't my only
Yeah.
book for the class. Uh it looks like 700, around 700.
That's solid.
So yeah.
I just finished reading Don Quixote, if you've ever heard of that.
Oh yeah,
We did you take Spanish in high school?
I did. Do I
Okay.
remember any of it? Probably not, but
We would do in high school little stories about Don Quixote, and I always thought they were really interesting and funny. And so my
is he
parents
the
had
one that he walked, like there's something about a windmill?
yeah, yeah, that's him. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's the Don Quixote is kind of coined as like the first modern novel. It was written in 1605, and then the second part of the book was published in 1615. And it's laugh out loud funny at points, and it's kind of the origin story of the hero and his sidekick.
Okay.
It's about a man that reads so many books about chivalry that he loses his mind and thinks he's a knight. And then he goes on
Yeah.
these quests kind of throughout the countryside with his squire, who's really just a peasant farmer named Sancho. And so it's like that book was 1,000 pages, 982 or something.
Oh wow. Okay.
Or well, sorry, it was 982 pages, not 1,900. But that took me. I read it over the course of 4 years, so I didn't. I would read it like in spurts or whatnot. But yeah, so that was a really good book. I don't know if I'd recommend it though because there's a lot of downtime where there's like 50 pages where not much is happening, and then like two
Yeah.
really funny pages, and then but
You
but
know, I've been
anyhow,
last year my wife and I were going, we went to a community garage sale, and there were only like 3 garage sales out. So it was really kind of sad because I love garage selling. But we went to one, and this girl was selling a like a set of Winnie the Pooh books from like the 60s, and they were like $4, and it looked really cool. So we bought it for a couple bucks, and then we started reading them, and they are hilarious. Like we're dying laughing with these books, but those are great. I didn't know. I mean, I grew up watching Winnie the Pooh and stuff as a kid, and
how long are the
I
books?
just
Are
I
they?
just think of it as like a kids show. I mean, probably like 100 pages, and there's pictures and stuff like that. Like they're pretty short, but it's
Kind of
hilarious.
like a comic book almost, or
I mean, not no. I mean, just like a young reader's
oh, I
book,
see. Yeah.
not a comic book. Yeah,
Um, and yeah, kind of, along this idea of books and reading. I mean, it's no secret that we both have an interest in writing and kind of always have. You and me, as well as my brother Luke. We can include our friend Dan in this conversation as well. But in high school, just I mean, it took the form more so of making videos and just kind of like being creative, throwing
yeah,
ideas out, kind of verbally making stuff happen. But now, I think we've gotten a little bit older and we're, actually writing some of the ideas down instead of just yelling them at each other with the camera.
yeah.
But I wasn't sure if
Those were good days.
yeah, no, they were for sure. And hey, maybe they're not all done yet. Like we're both here
I
doing
know
this, maybe.
we got to get something going. That'd be
Yeah.
so fun.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we were talking before we started recording a little bit about yeah, just like different ideas. Like I know I have a couple, like I have a book idea and a TV show idea. And if anyone out there is listening that's heard me talk about these, I talk about them a lot. And but I just wasn't, I wanted to maybe get some of your thoughts about like what's motivating you right now. What are you writing about? What's exciting to you?
Yeah. Uh, I guess just kind of to start, I I feel like a couple of things that really helped me was one, when I was in college, I took a class on videography, and my professor was talking about how anytime he was in a coffee shop or something, he would always see something and be like, oh, that belongs in a story. And so he would like write it down and put it in a file and just keep it. And so I feel like at some point I started doing that of like, I mean, just as a kid, I was always just like in my imagination and having all these adventures. And then at some point I started like writing down like some of my like ideas or things like that. And and so that was one thing. And then I read a book. It was actually about spiritual disciplines, but in it, it was talking about how this one guy had like all these volumes of books in his head, and he would say that, but he never actually took the discipline to write them down. And so I was like, well, that feels like me. Like I have all these ideas, but I never write anything down. So I just started writing more and more. And so now I feel like I have like 30 books I want to write, and I've kind of written probably like 3 or 4 of them, and then I've got probably another 10 I'm loosely working on. But I love it. I want to keep writing for the rest of my life, I think.
And you and I have never talked about this before, but I was the same way as a kid. I started writing in like the fourth grade, and mine was more so music at first. So I'd hear a song, and I always like misheard lyrics and stuff. So, but it always meant something to me. So I'd like
Mm.
write down my wrong lyric or whatever, and
Yeah,
then
that's
I
so
would,
funny. I was just thinking about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I write down the wrong lyric that I liked, and sometimes I would change the song altogether so that it was a parody. Weird Al Yankovic, was a huge influence back in the day, and
Yeah.
some of that kind of stuff. Um, but then it progressed obviously to more trying to write my own songs, and then like that wasn't enough. I have hundreds, if not thousands, of notes on my phones about different ideas for like inventions, TV shows, uh, songs. Obviously, songs is the biggest one. Poetry. I actually manage a poetry account on Instagram called Workweek Poetry, which I don't do it anymore, but I used to try to put a poem out every day on that. So just something to keep that writing streak alive or whatnot. Um but it's funny to hear, because we haven't talked about this, but you had the same kind of realization of like, oh, I have these ideas, like I should record them in some way. And
Mhm.
then you get better. The more you write them down, the better you get at realizing them when they will start happening. Because sometimes you can just be in your own head and like it'll pass or whatnot, especially if I'm working my job. Like I might have a funny idea, but I won't write it down, and I'm like, oh, what was
Yeah.
that earlier today? But
And that's my problem. I forget everything. So then I finally hit a point where I'm like, I have to write everything down.
yeah,
And so then I was doing that for a long time, and then I would just lose all my writings and not keep track of them. But now I'm getting more organized, and now it's starting to kind of build up. But my best time to have ideas is always like when I'm trying to go to sleep and I'm not thinking about stuff. I get like a million ideas, and then I'll just like my wife will just be like laying down next to me, and I'll just keep getting up and like going over and like writing a note down or something like that. But
that's
that's when I
hilarious.
get all my good ideas.
That's
At
what
least I think they're good. I don't. Maybe no one else will, but
but that's the thing. Like it's so, of the thousands of ideas that I've written down, maybe three of them are good. But it's like I still want to write all of them down,
yeah.
even if, because
And
that's
I just listened to something by Jordan Peterson that I really liked, but he was talking about how like uh the reason he was like successful is because he was just willing to try something, and he always was like a rookie, just bumbling about, didn't know what he was doing, felt like an idiot, but he was always willing to try it. And he was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And then if you stick with it, you're just going to keep getting better and better.
yeah.
And and so I feel like that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I don't know what I'm doing. And it's like my grammar and all that is horrible. And so I'm writing, and I think there's like a creative aspect to my writing, but it's just flooded with just probably things that make it difficult to read.
Yeah.
And that's what kept me from writing for so long. But now I'm just like, well, why not just like write it and then let people help me with it, and then I'll get better at the process. And so that's kind of what I'm working through.
Or just pull like a Hemingway or a Steinbeck and just write it as you write it, and just leave it in that. there are so many authors that do that, that will have bad grammar or poor grammar or whatnot.
Yeah,
You know, and it can be its own style, like especially if you're
that's
writing
true.
fiction.
Yeah.
But but yeah, so you said that you have an idea for 30 books or thereabouts, you said?
Yeah, I think at least, yeah.
That I respect that, man. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And
We'll see how
like
many I get done.
and you've started a couple, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Or
I've written a number of books. Now, when I say written, like a couple of them, one was like, let me just give you the story of how I like kind of got into this. When Bethany and I were dating, we were driving down to see my family, and I was like, "Hey, you should tell me a story, like make up a story." And she Okay, wait. Maybe let me go back further. When I was
yeah.
hiking the Appalachian Trail, I stayed with some friends and someone told a story. And I'm not even going to tell the story because I want to write it someday. And I don't know if that's plagiarism or not, but this guy just made up a little story. And I thought it was the coolest thing listening. Like, I was just like, he was telling it to these younger kids, but I was sitting on the edge of my seat and I just loved it. I was
Yeah.
eating. And so that was where like I was like, I want to be able to do that. And so when I asked Bethany to tell me a story, I was thinking about that time, and she didn't really come up with anything. And she was like, "You tell me a story." So then I started telling her a story, and then I just left it on a cliffhanger, just a cute little story. And then when we were with my parents, I would tell them the next chapter. And so like we went hiking and I told them I went through another chapter of the story. And so like each night I would tell them a chapter. And then I decided that for Christmas I wanted to finish it and give it to my parents. And so that's what I did. And Bethany actually illustrated it. She's pretty artistic.
Whoa.
And so I printed 2 copies of it and we kept one, and then Bethany illustrated one. We gave it to my parents. And I've always wanted to like finish that and actually publish it. And so that was where we had moved down to Texas and I really wanted to do that. But I felt like it had too many issues and it would take like I didn't even know where to start editing it. And so I was like, I need to just start fresh. So then I was like, Bethany, we should both write children's books, self-illustrate them and get them out there. And because on Amazon, on Amazon KDP, I found out it's like really easy to do that pretty much. And so we both wrote books. I wrote one on the Appalachian Trail, a kid's book, and Bethany wrote one about our golden retriever dog and the fruit of the spirit. And so we both wrote them and started illustrating them. And I was like, this is way too hard to illustrate. And Bethany wrote hers and illustrated it. She fully illustrated it. She still hasn't published it. It turned out to be kind of bad quality. We didn't set the pixels the right. So I don't know what we're going to do with it. But I was like, I don't have money to pay an illustrator and I can't illustrate it myself. So then I was like, I need to write a book that I don't need pictures. So then I started writing just a fun fiction novel. And that's what got me into that. So I've written that. It's kind of the first of a series. Um, and so that kind of started me actually like writing the books. And I finished it sometime last year. We're just trying to edit it now.
Man, I respect the fact that you were able to keep pushing through it, because in recent years, especially, I've noticed that if one thing kind of doesn't go right for me, I'm just like, oh, that project's done, you know, or whatever. But
Yeah.
like you're like, okay, the writing the book, the self-published with the pictures, okay, that's not working. But what is working is the writing. I still enjoy that piece. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep like I really respect that you're able to
And
identify that and then like keep
it's
going.
been so hard and I'm still struggling. So like, back in 2017, I hiked the Appalachian Trail, 2,000 miles. And it was like, I never thought I would do that or could do that. Technically 2,190. Don't want to miss out on all the miles. But from hiking Georgia to Maine, I learned that if I stick with something, I can like accomplish a lot more than I think I can. And so I learned that valuable lesson, which has helped me in writing because it's been so frustrating. Like I've been writing for so many years. I mean, back when I was a kid, I was writing songs and stuff. I remember that, gave that up. I want to get back to that someday, but not there yet.
You know where to find me when you're
But
ready.
that's right. Yeah. And but this writing process I've had since 2018. And so it's 6 years later, and I still like ever since then it's been a desire to like publish a book. And so now I'm only writing and I can't publish anything yet. And so it's frustrating because it's like, man, I thought the Appalachian Trail was hard, but that took 5 months, and this has taken 6 years. And so, but
Jeez.
I love the process. I love writing, so that helps.
And I mean, the way too, I guess that I'm seeing it is, yeah, it's 6 years, but you're getting the experience and like the
It
practice.
is.
And
I'm growing a lot. And I guess I don't know if are you familiar at all with the Inklings?
I've heard of it, but is that
So
what?
it's like C.S. Lewis and Tolkien,
Yeah.
they were friends, and then they kind of like started hanging out more, talking about life, talking about writing, and then they kind of got a group together that would kind of they would sit and they would read each other's writings and critique them, and so and they were called the Inklings. And so I've recently kind of gotten fascinated with that. There's actually, so this is a book I really like. It's called Bandersnatch, and so it's about the Inklings, and it's kind of how you can like do what they did, that you can get together with a bunch of people and be creative and critique each other's work and push each other to do more and things like that. And so this was really encouraging, and I've found a couple of friends here who also really like the Inklings and like writing, and so we've been kind of talking and sharing ideas and encouraging each other to start our ideas. And so it's been fun, and it helps having that encouragement. The book, they talk about it being resonators, people that you can like critique each other, encourage one another, but just
Yeah.
having that is
And I
huge,
know
completing something.
like that's kind of like you and Luke were that for me, I think a lot in high school. And again, we weren't writing like books, but we were kind of writing stories and made a
Yeah,
lot of videos and sketches, all that kind of like, I guess you call it goofing around. I don't know,
yeah,
um but I think that that's the kind of thing that I'm lacking right now, is that community or a person that's like interested in what I'm thinking about or writing, that can be like, oh yeah, keep doing this thing, change that, this is a really good idea. I do
yeah.
actually, I have a couple of those friends. We moved to Fort Wayne. um Gosh, it's almost been a year now, or maybe it will be a year by the time this gets posted, but from Indianapolis. And I had a couple good friends there that I could always, hey, this is a song I'm working on, or this is the idea that I
Yeah.
have. And they could always give like really great feedback and insight and criticisms and whatnot that I would take to heart. But again, I haven't been here that long or whatnot. And we've actually gotten plugged into a really good church, which is nice. We were having trouble finding a place in Indy for the last couple of years, but we're already plugged into a church here in Fort Wayne. So I'm hoping that some of that stuff might come here shortly. But in the meantime, I know I can lean on you here for a little inspiration, a
Yeah,
little,
dude, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. But I'm really excited to kind of read what you've been working on, and you'll have to keep me updated as well, because obviously, like, even though our podcast is small, we'd love to support you, or like kind of plug the stuff that you're doing or working on or whatnot. So whenever
That'd
it's
be
made
very kind
available.
of you. Since I don't have any social media, no one's ever going to hear about my book. So
Well, that's where we come in.
that's where you come in.
All 20 followers, we lined up.
That's good.
So
But I'm just kind of like, if you write it good enough, then somebody's going to share with their friend, and they'll share
mhm.
with friends. So I just want to keep working on writing good quality stuff,
Yeah,
which
it's
I'm
gonna.
probably not doing yet, but I'm just going to keep getting better.
And as far as writing goes, like we've both kind of been doing it in different ways for a very long time, and like you're 30, I'm 28, like we're still relatively young to
Yeah.
as far as like a writer's career goes or whatnot, writing career
Yeah.
goes. But
And I mean, a big thing for me is, I mean, I kind of wrestle with like, is writing worth it? Like putting all this time and effort into it, is it worth it? And so like, I'm doing this fictional stuff, but I like, one of the biggest things I want to do with writing is like encourage people and like point them to Christ. And I think the biggest reason I write for myself, like ever since college, I've been journaling a lot. And so I just kind of write out my heart, my convictions, journal about scripture and things like that. And I love reading like the journals of people like Jim Elliot or there's a missionary, David Brainerd, different people like that. I love getting to read their stories. So I try to write just so that even when I'm dead and gone, I can still be making an impact for the kingdom of God. And so that's why one of the books I'm working on is it's taken my Appalachian Trail experience and it just gives you the basics of the Christian faith in it. And so like I want to win souls for Christ. And I think writing's a cool way to do it. Like if my book's online, like people all around the world can buy it. And so I can be making an impact around the world even when I'm here. So that's a big reason that I want to do it. And I see a huge purpose in it.
Yeah, that's very awesome, man. And you said you've been journaling since college. Is that, or was it after college you said?
No, in college. So
In college.
my degree is adventure leadership and outdoor ministry, which is essentially camp ministry. And in one of my classes, I had to like go out into nature and then journal, and then we would kind of share like our journal with the class, and it generally would be like based on scripture and stuff like that. So that's when I had to journal once a week, and I fell in love with it, and I've kept it up ever since, kind of.
That's really cool. I actually at work we did a it was called a gratitude journal. So for an entire month you had to write down at least one thing that you were thankful for the day. So I participated in that for February of 2024, and it also helped. I went on a cruise with my in-laws, so that was a really fun month to be journaling about
Gives
what
you
you
a
were
lot to
grateful for.
have gratitude for. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of an easier month to be thankful than usual, um, but I think it's nice. Like there can be a class or something like in your case, or just my employer kind of encouraging that kind of behavior or whatnot, and then like it's had a lasting impact on you. It seems like to still kind of be carrying through with that process.
Yeah.
And one of the questions I wanted to ask you too, and I think it's one of the, maybe we could end on this one, but it's the kind of like the most popular or like asked question about when it comes to writing is like, what's your process look like on a daily basis? If you're going to sit down and write, do you wait to have the idea or do you structure the time? So like you could say like, I'm going to write from 3 to 4 o'clock today. And if no ideas come, that's fine. But if you do have something, you go, or is it just whenever the idea hits you, you run with it?
Yeah. So I guess I would say both of those. Cause uh like I was telling you, my best time for having ideas is like when I lay down to go to bed. And so one of my big things is like having the discipline to write it down, or like if I'm driving the car and I have an idea, what I used to do and what most people would probably do is like, oh, that's a great idea. Like I'll just remember that later. But no, if I have an idea that I really like, then I'm real intentional on like first opportunity I get, I'm going to sit down and write this down. And like, I don't want to lose any of my ideas because I know I'll forget it. I forget stuff way too easy. So that's one thing. But so when I was writing, right now I'm not writing because it got to be too much. And so like I feel like it comes in waves and I feel like I just have to ride the waves. So if I'm in a wave of writing, I'm going to be real consistent in writing. But right now I'm kind of just taking a break, and I think I just need some rest from writing because last year I just did it probably way too much. But when I was writing like my fiction novel, I got one of the little like 99-cent brown lined booklets from Walmart, and I would write one chapter every day. And so that was my goal. And the chapters were really short. And so my routine is I don't care what comes to me, but I'm going to write something each day. And I would write one chapter each day. And so that was kind of my routine. And because if you're just waiting for it to come to you, it's not going to come to you. But I do think like it's good to find some kind of routine, a place that you got to find a place where you can focus and things like that. And I think finding places that inspire you kind of like my fiction is kind of like I feel like it's kind of setting of like a Lord of the Rings, like just kind of something like that. And so just going on a hike in the woods or something like that would give me a lot of inspiration and help me. But I feel like you got to find, like, I'll get like a cup of tea and I'll put a candle on, and I love having like a fan go on in the background and just a couple of lamps on. And so I'll just that's kind of my writing. Or I found this like kind of, what would it be like? I don't know if it was like Celtic music. There was some kind of track I found. And so I would just pop that in, and every time I would write, that was my music. And the music would just it felt like it inspired me. So like I definitely think finding your routines is good, but be ready to just get an idea and start writing too.
Yeah, that's where I struggle with the routine, because I'm more so, whenever it comes to me, boom, I'll write it down. But then what
Mm-hmm.
I've been finding these last couple of years, I've just been very uninspired, I
Yeah.
guess, mostly. And so if I'm not making it part of my routine, it's not going to happen. And I just have not found a good way. Like, I love what you're saying, like, just go outside, just like go walk in the woods, or go like sit in that comfortable chair and like have like the tea or something, music, whatever it is that just like gets you into that place where you feel like you can
Yeah.
write. So you've encouraged me and
Good,
inspired me
good.
today, Jordan.
I,
So
I think uh I think a big thing about it is that it's a lot like running or something like that. You don't really, let's say, like, if you're not running and you want to become a runner, for a long time you're never going to feel like running. It's not going to be fun, it's going to be hard. But if you put on your running clothes, you go out there and you start jogging a little bit, you might start feeling your groove. And so I guess kind of with what you're saying, like, just sit down in your chair, get everything ready, and just kind of sit there for a bit. You might get into your groove. But for me, it was like that, where it was like I have no ideas and I'm just sitting here writing stuff down. But after I was doing it for a few weeks or something, I was like always in, like, I was in shape and I was always in running mode, and I like the ideas began flowing and stuff like that. So I really think it's good to have a routine, and to just consistency is probably key.
yeah, man, dude, you're speaking to my soul right now. I
I know.
feel
I
kind of
know.
like fired up. Like, I want to
It's
work,
hard.
because
It's hard because, like, most people don't care at all about writing, I feel like. So I can't just have these conversations except for with a couple people. But the
there's
people who
this.
like these conversations love them.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
absolutely love them. But there's this lyric that I love that says, "I've written you down, you will live forever." And there's just something about, like, not, I don't care about like living on this earth eternally, or that might actually be hell, but but like, to have like a lasting impact, or to like you were saying, like with the reading Jim Elliot's like journal or something all these years
Yeah.
later, like he's still like, the thoughts that he was having, the words that he was writing are able to influence you like today. And that's profound. I think that's like really powerful. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it makes you kind of wonder why more people wouldn't want to kind of take part in that and just try to write about their day or what they're thinking. And like, not even for like, there's also a part that I'm interested in that helps you become more self-aware or more in tune with yourself, that I think is really motivating as well, like in writing and reflecting and trying to like grow as a person. Like, I found that really helpful when I'm journaling or something, because then I'm like, I can look back at it and be like, oh, I was the idiot. Like, I was mad at this other
Yeah.
person, but it's really me that was like, and it's like a good way to give yourself perspective, even if it looks silly in a couple of years. Like, most of the stuff I write is bad in a couple of years,
Mhm.
but like, I learned from it, or it provides some kind of insight or growth. So, man,
Yeah.
let's write.
Yeah. Let's do it. I think one of the things that's encouraging about writing is like reading about the Inklings. They Some of their original ideas were just plain like horrible,
Yeah,
but because they like shared them with the Inklings were able to say, "Hey, that's a really dumb idea. You should fix it." And so, you know, even the great writers had really bad writing and bad ideas and things like that.
there was
So,
a book that I read a couple of years ago, but it was all of C.S. Lewis's short stories, and one
mhm.
of them was called The Dark Tower, and it was a book that he never got to finish because he passed away, unfortunately. And it was such an interesting concept, but I felt like it needed that group to kind of
Yeah.
flush. Like he didn't mean for it to be published, but
Uh-huh.
they his brother or someone published it upon his passing, and so it's very clearly not done,
Yeah.
and everything. But the idea is there, and you can see the idea. But had he have had another conversation with Tolkien or a couple of those other guys, like maybe it would have come to fruition and
Uh-huh.
kind of flushed itself out. But man, oh, that's really exciting. I really want to read some of your stuff now too. I don't know if
Dude, yeah, I'll have to send you some stuff.
yeah, please do. I
Yeah.
have one chapter that I might
Just don't steal it and publish it, please.
I won't. I
Okay.
won't. I respect the craft too much to do you dirty like that.
Good.
So
Thank
yeah. And I might have to I have one chapter of a book that I've only shown Luke.
And
And
now
he
you're gonna show
liked
me.
it. What's
Now you're
that?
now you have to show me.
Yeah, now it,
Good.
well, and the funny thing is because I know I have to show you now, I know I'm gonna be like, let me read through this first, and like I'll probably clean up some stuff and it'll get better,
Yeah,
you know.
that's so hard. Like getting getting over the pride and finding the humility to give your work to other people.
Yeah,
Like the first time I gave my book to somebody, I was so embarrassed, and I still don't think my book's great, but it was really bad when I gave it to somebody. But you just got to do it.
yeah, totally. And I'm gonna
Yeah.
I it's in a Google Doc, so I could share it with your email like really
Okay.
easily. But yeah, let's do that. Let's swap ideas, man.
Perfect.
I like it. I like it. And I hope everyone else enjoyed this talk too. Unless Jordan, did you have any closing thoughts or comments or anything?
No, I think that's it.
I
I'm
did
good.
have one
I
actually.
could
Now
I
that
could I could keep talking about writing like all night, but we can.
I know, well, and I do. I will say I do want to have you back on the
Yeah.
podcast, or maybe we even start our own podcast or something. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, we could start a writing podcast. I would do that with you.
Oh my gosh, I think a new idea has just been born on
Yeah,
this very episode. Wow.
that's
Um, yeah, we'll have to be in conversation about that. That might be a
we
thing.
will. Yeah.
And everyone at home, stay tuned. But the
I know
I
they're all going to be sitting on the edge of their seat. They,
we can't get enough of you guys. Come
yeah,
on. Yeah. Yeah, but no, it'd be fun roping Luke and Dan or something, you know, kind of get a cacophony of voices or whatnot,
great.
perspective. But
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you like book recommendations too. Like I know you were talking about the Inklings and in their short stories. And then I think there was another book you had recommended before the call. Now I'm forgetting, but I figured since we're still recording, just like a couple quick recommendations for me or just a average reader that's kind of interested in maybe fiction or just kind of writing in general.
Let's see. I mean, I'd recommend my books, obviously. Yeah. So I'm looking at my bookshelf. The one I was telling you about is Andrew Peterson's Wingfeather Saga.
Yes.
4 books, really good. And I think there's some other like spin-offs of it. There's like a cartoon TV show with it now too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that I love that. That was really good. I was telling you about Winnie the Pooh.
Yep.
Yeah. So like I I love books about like missionaries and things like that. So Jim Elliot, or I guess Elizabeth Elliot wrote it, and it's about Jim Elliot. Shadow of the Almighty is one of my favorite books.
Mm.
One of the first books that got me into like books on missionaries, Coach Nelson gave to me, and it's called Bruchko, and that's a really good book.
How do you spell Brujko?
Bruchko. Bruchko. Here, let me just go grab it.
Yeah. I can see some books on your shelf in the background too. And I've got a couple too. Although they're fake books, they're just props. Just kidding.
Yeah, I'm so glad. It was a few years ago that my wife was like, "Hey, we should read a book a month." And I was just reading my Bible at that point, and I just didn't know if I wanted to get into reading, but I read The Pursuit of God by A.W. Tozer.
I read
And
that this year.
oh yeah?
Yeah, I kid you
Yeah, so
not.
that was the first book, and then I started reading like consistently, and now like I've fallen in love with reading. Like that's all I want to do. I'm such a bookworm now. But yeah, so here's the one I was telling you about, Shadow of the Almighty, Elizabeth Elliot.
Okay.
Love this book. And then here's Bruchko.
Ruchko. Okay.
Yeah, Bruce Olson. It's a crazy story. And then there's another one that I really like, George Mueller. It's Delighted in God by Roger Steer.
I like
Book.
the exclamation point.
Yeah, it's a great
Cool.
exclamation point.
You get the sense of delight.
So yeah, those are some good ones.
Sweet. Well, Jordan, thank you for being here, and thank you for those recommendations, and honestly, really just thank you for getting me fired up, man, about
Yeah.
writing and the future. And
Dude, what's gonna come out of this? What are we gonna do? I don't know.
This day is getting marked in the history books.
Everybody's in suspense now. What are Logan and Jordan gonna come up with?
That's $1 million question.
That-
Thanks again so much for being on, man. It's been
It was
awesome.
great. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Take care.
See ya.